Today we have 10 chilling facts about Jack the Ripper. If you enjoy videos about serial killers, like the video and subscribe. Let's go. Fact 1: Jack the Ripper's killing spree was called the Autumn of Terror. His victims, the canonical five. This referred to the time period of the infamous Whitechapel murders, which specifically includes the canonical 5 women that were murdered by Jack the Ripper. The first murder attributed to Jack was on August 31, 1888, and ended with the 5th murder on November 9, 1888. Fact 2: His first victim, Mary Ann Nichols, aka Polly, was disemboweled. The first murder definitively attributed to Jack the Ripper set the stage for his ghoulish brutality. In addition to being disemboweled, Mary Ann had her throat cut twice to the spine and her liver had been stabbed. Fact 3: Jack the Ripper was originally referred to as Leather Apron. It's hard to imagine any other name for this figure, but an excerpt from The Star, London, on Wednesday, September 5, 1888, explains his original designation. Leather Apron by himself is quite an unpleasant character. If, as many of the people suspect, he is the real author of the 3 murders which, in everybody's judgment, were done by the same person, he is a more ghoulish and devilish brute than can be found in all the pages of shocking fiction. He has ranged Whitechapel for a long time. He exercises over the unfortunates who ply their trade after 12 o'clock at night, a sway that is based on universal terror. From all accounts, he is 5 feet 4 or 5 inches in height and wears a dark, close-fitting cap. He is thick-set and has an unusually thick neck. His hair is black and closely clipped, his age being about 38 or 40. He has a small, black mustache. The distinguishing feature of his costume is a leather apron, which he always wears, and from which he gets his nickname. Fact 4: Jack's second victim, Annie Chapman, was also disemboweled. The killer left her entrails draped over her shoulder. On September 8, 1888, Annie also had her throat cut and her uterus and 2/3 of her bladder had been removed and were missing. Analysis of all 5 murders shows that the more uninterrupted time Jack the Ripper had with his victims, the more body parts and organs he removed. Fact 5: In his infamous Dear Boss letter, written in blood-red ink, the killer named himself, signing off as Jack the Ripper. In a letter dated September 27, 1888, and sent to a London news agency, Jack wrote, "I am down on whores and I shan't quit ripping them till I do get buckled. I love my work and I want to start again. The next job I do I shall clip the ladies' ears off and send to the police officers just for jolly, wouldn't you? Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work, then give it out straight. My knife's so nice and sharp I want to get to work right away if I get a chance. Good luck. Yours truly, Jack the Ripper. Don't mind me giving the trade name." Initially, this letter was disregarded because there were many hoax letters being sent to the newspapers and police. But the statement about his next murder caught the investigators' attention, and 3 days later, on September 30th, Catherine Eddowes was murdered and found with her rear cut off. The Dear Boss letter was actually stolen in the 1880s and was missing for nearly a century before an anonymous sender, hypothesized to be a descendant of the thief, mailed it back to the London police in 1987. Fact 6: On September 30th, 1888, Jack the Ripper murdered 2 women in one night. The night of the double murder, 2 women were killed in separate areas of Whitechapel. It is generally believed that Jack was interrupted during his first murder by Israel Schwartz, so he went in search of a second victim. Victim 1: Elizabeth Stride had her throat cut once and was almost decapitated. A witness, Israel Schwartz, reportedly saw what he thought was a lover's quarrel or domestic dispute. Elizabeth suffered no other wounds from the attack. Victim 2. Catherine Eddowes had her throat cut all the way to the spine. Her face was mutilated. Most of the tip of her nose was removed, and there were triangular-shaped cuts to her cheeks and ears, making her unidentifiable. She was eventually identified by tracing a pawn ticket she had in her pocket, which had belonged to a work acquaintance. As with his second victim, Catherine's abdomen was sliced open, and her entrails placed upon her right shoulder. Her uterus and left kidney were missing. Fact 7. A day after the double murder, Jack the Ripper alluded to the killings in a postcard sent to a London news agency signed Saucy Jack. It read, "I wasn't codding dear old boss when I gave you the tip. You'll hear about Saucy Jack's work tomorrow. Double event this time. Number 1 squealed a bit, couldn't finish straight off. Had not the time to get ears for police. Thanks for keeping last letter back till I got back to work." Fact 8. The Ripper's most gruesome crime scene was at the site of his only indoor murder. Mary Jane Kelly was murdered on November 9, 1888. Her murder scene would be the worst viewed by police. It was also the only murder that was known to take place inside a building, and it appeared that Jack was able to take his time and mutilate the body in horrifying ways. Mary had several deep cuts across her neck to her spine. The murderer also cut off her breasts, removed large swaths of flesh from her abdomen and inner thighs, and sliced off her chin, lips, nose, eyebrows, and eyelids. The only body part taken this time was her heart. The murderer took the time to display her body parts on various surfaces throughout her bedroom, including her bed, bedside table, mantel, and underneath her head. Mary's butchered face was unrecognizable. Fact 9. There is disagreement as to whether Jack the Ripper possessed advanced anatomical knowledge and surgical skills. The physician who examined Annie Chapman stated his belief that Jack the Ripper was someone with considerable anatomical and surgical knowledge. He based this on the killer's supposed dexterity with precisions and ability to quickly remove body parts and organs. Several other physicians backed this up, saying the Ripper must have had considerable knowledge of the position of the organs in the abdominal cavity and the way of removing them. The murders required a great deal of medical knowledge to have removed the kidney and to know where it was placed. But an official report released by the London police surgeon Dr. Thomas Bond refuted this, stating, "The mutilation was inflicted by a person who had no scientific nor technical knowledge. In my opinion, he does not even possess the technical knowledge of a butcher or her slaughterer or any person accustomed to cut up dead animals." Fact 10. Modern profiling suggests Jack the Ripper was stimulated by the total control of harvesting his victims' body parts and organs. Robert Keppel, a veteran serial homicide investigator profiler, says that while a serial killer's method of operation may change over time, his signature, the compulsive fantasies behind the rituals, will not. Keppel analyzed Jack the Ripper in 2005 and concluded that he was primarily motivated by the escalating sexual gratification he received from stabbing, eviscerating, and controlling a victim's viscera. In his book Sons of Cain, acclaimed author Peter Vronsky argued that the most consistent signature in Jack the Ripper's murders was piquerism, the act of using a knife to imitate penetration and sexual intercourse. Vronsky outlined 11 characteristics to this signature, concluding that Jack the Ripper was a necrophile of the warm destructive variety. Hopefully you enjoy. Subscribe for more.